What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Stoner Man Chill Crew double feature review. In our smoke circle, we have Apollo, God of the Sun.
Yes, it is I. Good to be here. Hello, Homer and Internet world.
Yes, and of course your host, Homer here. And today we are reviewing both the Netflix original movie Death Note and the Terminator 2 3D re-release that just got released in theaters this week.
Hot mama.
Let's start with the big one, the Death Note Netflix adaptation. I went in, this was like pretty much popping my Death Note cherry. I've never seen the manga or the anime whatsoever. So this was my first go with it, but I understand you've seen it, Apollo, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen a bunch of it. I haven't seen like the last 3 episodes, but I've seen most of it.
Yeah, you've like watched like 50 out of 53 episodes or something?
Just about.
I was worried going in just because anime adaptations have a bad history of being absolutely trash. Just look at Dragon Ball Evolution.
My god. Truly an abortion of film. Really not a good representation at all. Death Note Netflix movie did much better.
Yeah, I think it definitely delivered, and it presented us with a lot of smart situations and moral questions throughout the movie, which is a big root from the show, which I understand.
It is. They didn't get quite as deep into everything, but you know, what can they do when they only have 2 hours compared to like hundreds of hours with the show?
We were actually talking earlier, maybe it should go 3 hours, but they made the right decision. I think it was overall pretty cool. They went pretty unique directions with it that they did not go in the show.
True, it followed a lot of the same elements from the original storyline in the anime, but it really veered off and just kind of took on its own in a lot of different ways in the story, so it's basically a totally different story. You could watch the movie and not really be spoiled on the show at all.
Which is really cool, because now, after watching this movie, it really did its job. It was a good time, and now I, and hopefully other viewers, are interested in seeing the anime. What more can you ask for?
Heck yeah.
You get 2 out of this park performances with Willem Dafoe as Ryuk and then Keith Stanfield as L. I think those were the 2 highlight performances in this movie, especially Willem Dafoe as Ryuk.
Absolutely. Willem Dafoe kicked ass, as I expected he would, and Black L, what did you say his name was?
Keith Stanfield. I'm not
Keith
sure where he's from. I had to look it up, to be honest.
I haven't really seen him in anything else, but he did a great job as L, like copying his mannerisms, even like slight things that you would only notice in anime. He kind of did a good job of carrying over. It was neat. It was neat to see. He did a great job. Really brought the character to life, in my opinion.
And I think casting was a big, essential part of this movie. If they misdirected their casting, this movie could have gone south really quick. If Ryuk wasn't believable with Willem Dafoe, it could have gone south really quick. And that's actually one of my gripes. I wanted more of him in the movie.
Dude, oh yeah, he didn't even have enough lines. That's definitely a gripe of mine. There's not enough Ryuk.
And I wonder if it was to hold back the budget, because they did a really good job with his effects. I'm not sure if it was practical or...
It looked very good.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very scary.
Yeah, I wonder if they held him back for money reasons or whatever. I just hope in the sequel, which I hope is coming, that they use more of Ryuk.
Maybe they were trying to go with the Jaws thing, like the less they show of him, the scarier he is or some shit.
And I really love the chemistry between L and Light. I was a little worried at first, but it really played out. Even in the anime, I've only seen the pilot episode. I was worried about their chemistry in that too. Like you pointed out, Light is a little more different in this. He's a little more emotional, whatnot. In the anime, he's a little more bland, in my opinion. Just from what I've barely seen it.
For the most part, yeah.
And that was one of the things that kind of held me back. But like I was saying earlier as we were watching, I feel like it was my destiny to just skip the anime, just to go in this movie fresh and get a fresh dive into this world. And now I'm really excited to see the anime.
Yeah, definitely give the anime a watch if you have not seen it, and you should definitely give the movie a watch too, viewers at home, you bastards. But like you were saying before about Light being a little bit more emotional than in the show, him and Elle actually showed a lot more just random, less rational, more emotional moments than they ever do in the anime. Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked that about the movie, because you got to see like more human sides of people. Like
makes them more relatable, you know?
Yeah.
Not everyone's a super genius. And it really keeps up the fact that there's a game of cat and mouse going on between the two. It feels like a game of chess, which is a really cool aspect of the movie I liked.
True. It's very intense.
Yeah, game of wits.
Very strategic.
Which is something I miss from filmmaking these days.
Mm.
And dude, they did not hold back on the gore either.
Yeah,
they got pretty gory at times.
Pretty gory. Surprised I didn't put anything about that in my notes.
Minor spoiler for those out there. There's just the very first kill is a brutal decapitation, which in the pilot I saw, he mostly did heart attacks, so that was a big change of pace.
Yeah, in the anime, that's originally what he did too. Like, he was known, Kira, for using just heart attacks on most criminals, but in this one, they kind of veered away from that totally. They didn't even mention the rule.
That's not as cool.
Yeah, it's not though. He'd rather choose it himself or just go dealer's choice.
So yeah, they definitely had a lot of opportunities to improve it, but what are some things you think that they kind of slipped up on? Like, some comments I have was Light's woman. I didn't care for her character in the movie too much.
Yeah, she wasn't very relatable. She kind of just seemed crazy from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And Light was kind of my least favorite character. I'm not sure if that's just because all the other characters were so great, but at the end of the day, I found Light being one of my least favorite.
Yeah, especially some of his choices, like right off in the beginning. He kind of just shows off to this girl, this notebook that kills people. Like,
yeah.
He's known this girl for like 30 seconds, man.
Yeah, he's...
Hey, I've been murdering people.
That wasn't his brain talking there.
Thinking between his legs.
And then, this is just a minor nitpick, but I wrote this down. The song choice for the ending scene, I'm not going to go too into detail because of spoilers, but you'll know what I'm talking about. It's pretty much the only song in the movie. I felt like it was a bad song choice.
I also found like it was a bad song choice. I'm glad we agree on that front.
I think they could have done better on that.
It's kind of just out of place.
And
You'll know it.
Yeah, and the soundtrack didn't stand out too much, but it didn't really offend me or anything. It was just kind of there.
There were some parts that were okay and some parts that were average.
But like we were saying, some phenomenal acting. It's going to be hard for me, now that I'm a newcomer to the anime, picturing Ryuk as anyone but Willem Dafoe. That's my only problem going in.
Yeah, I got no problem with that though, because he did a great goddamn job. One person who I thought didn't do that great of a job was who was casted to play Light.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
sure of his name, but I don't really like his face. He's just kind of got a generic emo-looking face. And
You're
like,
casted.
he did a pretty good job acting-wise, but like I feel like he just might not have been the person necessarily to bring to the table what this character needed.
I'll agree with that. He was pretty weak in my opinion. I'm not even from the anime world, so...
It certainly could have been far worse, so
yeah,
props
definitely.
on that.
I'm not gonna lie, when Roger put it on this morning, I was kind of like, ugh. Like, I thought it was going to be terrible, because we literally, before we watched this, we literally watched a review for Dragon Ball Evolution. So I was literally expecting something on that level. I was like, just let me watch the anime, I guess. But
not like this.
But I'm a huge Willem Dafoe fan, so I gave it a chance. It was free on Netflix, why not? Popped it on, had a time and a half.
Just do it. If you don't have Netflix, make a free trial, man. Just get an email. So Homer, you told me something earlier about how like Willem Dafoe didn't even watch the original Death Note anime because he didn't want to be distracted by the original Ryuk performance.
Yes, actually, I read that online. I'm not entirely sure how true it is. It was just a little fun thing I read on Facebook, a little tabloid. It could be one of those fake clickbaits, but if that's true, that's very interesting. I know a lot of actors do that, especially in comic book movies. They'll ignore the source material. I feel like he did a pretty good job. I thought he nailed the character.
He definitely did. If anything, he made him a little bit too creepy, but that just made him awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And without spoiling it, they left the door open for a kick-ass sequel, in my opinion. Apollo was there. At the end of the movie, I was getting antsy. I was like, come on, do this one thing, do this one thing. And they did it, and I was happy. So, using our unique marijuana scale, we're at the bottom of the bomb. That's the worst movie-going experience you get. That's resin. That's the stuff you scrape after your bowl. It's usually for people who hate themselves. Then a step up from that, we got mids. That's your typical ditch brick weed. Gets you a good buzz, but could be improved easily. Then we got a dank, which is an exceptional high. It could be a little bit better. You need that little extra fix. Then we got wax. That's a perfect score. That's where you're so high, you are seeing images from the death world, from death demons, from Ryuk's world. And on that scale, I'm going to have to give this movie a dank plus. Like I said, it made me intrigued in the anime. It's a thought-invoking movie, which is something that's not huge in cinemas these days. It was a small budget, but a big chance, and I think Netflix knocked it out of the park.
I thought it was deep, I thought it was dark, I thought it went hard, and for the few minor problems that I did have with it, overall, it was a really awesome rendition of Death Note, and I really hope they do a sequel, because it would actually kind of enter a world of Death Note that we haven't even seen in the anime, so it would be fucking awesome. So I would definitely give it at least a dank.
Nice. And that's something I'm glad you brought up, because now, yeah, I'm glad that they're going on their own rather than relying on the anime. Sure, maybe they could pick and choose parts from the anime, but they could make this into a very successful franchise, especially if they keep up the quality of the first film.
Heck yeah. Ooh, and one last thing I wanted to say here. I believe the last line of the film is the only line taken word for word from the anime, and that's Ryuk saying, "Humans are so interesting." And I thought that was really cool.
Well, on that interesting note, we're going to move on over to our next review.
Ooh.
Terminator 3D, re-release in theaters. And normally we don't review releases like this. It's actually the first time we've ever done it. We were just so blown away from the experience, we decided to include it on the podcast. This is the most immersed I've been in watching this film in years. For viewers at home, I've seen this movie hundreds of times. Hundreds.
You don't even know. That's probably an understatement.
Apollo and I can literally pick out tiny details that are wrong in this movie. Like, there's a scene when the truck crashes. If you look closely enough, you could see a crash test dummy wiggling around in the driver's seat.
In the driver's seat of the big rig truck. It's great. It happens in two separate segments. When it first drops, you fucking see it, and then when the roof gets ripped off under the bridge, it just bounces around again.
And not only is it in some of the best 3D I've seen in years, but it is also remastered in beautiful 4K, which normally I don't talk about, but in this situation, where I've seen this movie so many times, I've never seen it look so beautiful.
The 3D was very deep. Every scene, it felt like you were looking through one of those, what were they called? Those blue
kaleidoscopes.
Toys. Not necessarily kaleidoscope. Fuck, that's not what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called.
Man, whatever. Fuck, cut it.
No, don't cut it. We're live, damn it. You know what we're talking about, the little clicky image thingies that you put up your eyes.
You put the little slot things in them, kind of like the films.
The wheel.
Yeah, the film wheel, and you would see the great 3D images with all the depth. That's what every single scene looked like in this piece.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's not the 3D that pops out of the screen at you, which I was personally expecting at first. It is like Apollo was describing. It's like the background is zoomed back. It's like you're there.
Like every detail becomes so interesting that you can look at anything in the scene. You're like, wow, this looks fucking great.
You notice details that you did not notice in the original. Like, I've noticed how, like, I underappreciated how great of a performance Arnold gave in this movie. He gave it his all. You would think it's simple to act as a robot, but the little mannerisms he does throughout the movie, it makes it so believable. And it makes me notice, like Genesis, when he stops doing things like that and just going for that cash money.
Me and Homer hit up CC's right before we saw this little adventure, and I was sitting there just filled to the brim about to vomit, thinking, God damn, this film looks good.
Right? Just about to burst.
Just trying to keep that in mind. It's just a beautiful film. I don't want to ruin it.
Right. And I should mention that earlier, they used this film as an opportunity to improve on some continuity errors. In the scene we were describing earlier, the truck chase scene in the semi, there's a part where the glass falls off of the window, but then in editing, it remains on the window. Like, it doesn't fall off. Like seconds later. In this, they used
a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, in this they used post-editing to remove that window and probably tiny other details I couldn't even notice. They might have remastered some of the animation because it looks so beautiful considering it came out in the 90s. Such beautiful CGI for the T-1000.
Oh yeah.
And this is some of the best 3D we've ever seen, and it makes me wonder why modern movies that are literally filmed in 3D do not look as good as this movie that was filmed in the 90s that is converted from 3D.
True. This wasn't even made for 3D. One thing I was thinking was, this film is older than me and it looks better than I do.
Ain't that the truth for both of us, Apollo? James Cameron was actually saying if this is successful, his next movie could be Aliens 3D, which is another movie that was pretty popular in his reservoir. Personally, I want to go more direction Terminator 1 3D. I don't even know why they skipped it, cough cough. Well, I kind of do. Everyone loves Terminator 2. Terminator 2 is definitely where the money's at.
True.
And the action, I could see it.
Hopefully it'll make enough money to bump up Terminator 3.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that in a remastered 3D 4K.
And it's very interesting because this might have been the thing that rejuvenated James Cameron's love for Terminator, because James Cameron next year is getting his rights back to Terminator that he sold back in the 90s.
Ooh.
So he's announced that he's teaming up with Tim Miller from Deadpool to direct a Terminator reboot, and it might include Arnold still. You can't get rid of Arnold.
Wow.
Yeah, so having the original creator from Terminator 1 and 2 in a new one, that could be really cool. And they're talking about going back to the more horror theme, because the new ones just make it more like a blockbuster, action-packed extravaganza.
I would prefer a little bit of horror.
And hopefully they go back to rated R, because the past two ones have been PG-13, and that haven't. And that kind of waters down everything. Just so everyone online knows, some people are asking online on the forums and stuff if this is the director's cut or the theatrical release, and I'm pleased to say it's a theatrical release. The director's cut is cool and all, but it has a few questionable scenes which I think would have taken away from the experience.
Kind of reminds me of Mallrats, the extended edition.
Oh yeah, talk about... Not trying to go off on a tangent here, but never has a movie changed my perception more than the director's cut of Mallrats. Editing has saved that movie. If you watch the director's cut, it's a completely different movie, and I don't understand the direction at all.
I concur. There's quite a few scenes that are just unnecessary. It drags out the film like an extra hour, and it's really not funny or necessary, and I don't like it.
And it makes the parts that are normally funny in the movie less funny somehow.
Yes, it drags out those scenes too, the ones that are originally just funny and quick. It's like, oh my god.
So if you really want to appreciate the art of editing, check out the Mallrats director's cut.
It's the same movie, but different.
Exactly. But yeah, on our unique marijuana scale, first Apollo, we're going to rate Terminator 2 itself. Then we're going to rate this 3D conversion upgrade.
Oh, Jesus.
A lot of ratings going on here. Alright, first, I'm giving Terminator 2 Wax Plus. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. It inspired me and so many other people. It changed the game. It went from straight sci-fi horror to sci-fi horror action adventure. It upped the stakes with one of the greatest villains of all time. I can go on about this movie forever. Terminator 2 is one of the greatest films of all time, in my book.
God damn. Well, I would have to say Terminator 2 as a movie by itself, I would have to say dank minus. It's pretty awesome. Not exactly one of my favorite movies, but you know, I'd throw it on anytime. This new 3D rendition just looks so goddamn good. I have to give it a wax minus.
Oh yeah, I forgot to give my conversion. For the conversion, I'll give it a dank plus. Just because I think the thing to make it up to, dank plus. The thing that would have made it a wax is if it had the depth and pop out of the screen. That would have been the ultimate experience. But this is the closest I've gotten to experiencing this movie for the first time again. Like you said, we've noticed tiny details that we did not notice before. And it reminds me why I love the film-going experience and why it's the best way to watch a movie. You hear the sound crystal clear.
Ooh.
The screen is beautiful. And if you want to get a bang for your buck and see why the theater-going experience is the way to go, check this out.
Heck yeah. I was surprised to see that there was only 3 other human beings in the theater with us today, Homer.
Yeah, I was kind of depressed. But again, why I love the film-going experience, because we got there a little early. We talked to a fellow Terminator fan for a good 10 minutes just about Terminator and film in general. That wouldn't happen if we just popped it on at Netflix at home.
Very true. Talked about a few things we talked about here on the podcast today.
Yeah, it's very true. Damn. and it's only in theaters for a week, so if you have a chance, seriously, support this. It's very important that studios learn to actually use this kind of 3D, that they know that there's money in actually investing in real 3D instead of just claiming 3D, slapping it, conversion together.
A couple quick 3D gags where, whoa, this is 3D popping out of the screen. Like, that's not as cool as, like, a really fucking good-looking environment in, like, just about every scene. I mean, oh, man. See this movie, see it in IMAX 3D. Wait, is it IMAX? I'm not
No,
sure.
it's
Whatever.
not IMAX.
Well, fuck
see it in
it
3D.
It might as well be. You can't fucking tell. Go see it.
Honestly, I would say, besides screen size, it felt IMAX quality to me, but
True.
I'm not a professional.
Our screen was a little bit smaller than the usual for some reason, but it was still fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. From the opening scene with the skulls and the futuristic war,
Ooh.
I knew I was in for a good time.
Ooh, yeah.
The beautiful 4K. Just go out and see this, damn it.
We're still talking about it. I thought we already gave our ratings. I thought we were done here.
Like I said, I could talk about Terminator for until time loops again in some kind of tangent universe.
One more thing about Terminator. I really liked the beginning scene after the skulls came up, all the skulls. Where, like, it was kind of coming up, and, like, you saw, like, a bunch of, like, bombs going off, and there was, like, fire in the background, like, over the horizon.
The
and,
fire
like,
looks...
You just saw John Connor standing there with a bunch of other people.
Like, the new depth of the fire in the new 4K just makes it look absolutely stunning. Like, I can't describe it.
Go see it. Go see it stoned, preferably, and just get blown away.
Be so stoned you talk like the Terminator.
If you're a Terminator fan, it's a must. It's a must.
And if you need to hide your bloodshot eyes, just say you're cosplaying as Arnold. Some sunglasses.
There you go.
And that'll do it for today's Chill Crew double feature review.
We keep saying today, and it's like 4 a.m., man.
Yeah, for a little behind the scenes, we are recording this literally at 4 a.m. right now.
It's late or early. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. But don't forget to check us out at stonermanshow.com. There you can find a bunch of awesome memes we've personally made, some scenes we wrote from our show Stoner Man, and it gives you all the lowdown of our show and how you can donate and help us get an animated product.
It will be a beautiful, beautiful product.
And as always, stay lifted, my friends.
Good night, all. Thank you for listening. I love you. Hasta la vista.
That'll do it. We'll be back.